Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orum, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Guys, we've been really empowering some people all over the world. I'm excited about what we've been able to do in season 2. I'm excited to bring you some additional information today. As usual, I always want to thank all of our listeners wherever you are around the world. Most of you know this podcast is actually airing in over 170 countries. So we're excited about that. But the fact of the matter is, it's not about me. It's not so much about the podcast. It's about you. It's about where you are and ultimately where you would like to be. And how can we help you along the way with that particular journey? Now, we're going to talk about some things today that I think will continue to empower you in the biggest way. We want to talk to you about continuing to grow. Also, how to adapt a little bit in today's environment. I think since we started the podcast a couple of years ago, whenever it was, things have changed around the globe. Most of you know that with the pandemic and wars and politics and all these other things, so many things have changed. One thing we have to be cognizant of is the fact that when times and situations and the wind blows a certain direction, then we have to be prepared to adjust in terms of our plans, our goals, our empowerment process. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But before we get started in today's topic, as usual, I want to invite everybody to join this podcast in a big way. We're on all the major podcast platforms, wherever you may be, Apple, Spotify, Google, you name it. We're on all the major podcast platforms. You're listening to this. If you're listening live, you're listening on onevoiceradio.com. You definitely want to download that app either on iOS or Android or whatever device you may have. Go to the Play Store or the Apple Store and download One Voice Radio, the app, so that you can continuously get the Deep Dive Podcast, again, no matter where you are in the world. It's also very important for all of you to like, subscribe, download, and share the podcast. Why is that so important? Because the bigger the reach that we have around the globe, right, the more people that we can empower. We're just a family. I'm just a Southern boy, just really trying to do what I can in terms of contribute to the empowerment of people. So we want to do this together, and I need your help. I can't do it by myself. You guys have been doing an incredible job, but I want to take it to that next level. And every single week, we're going to continue to expand and grow our message. Over the next couple of weeks, we have some incredible guests. I know I've been doing a lot of solo podcasts, but so many people have been, intrigued and asking about the empowerment topics and what they can generally apply to their lives. So I did promise our family that we would do more solo podcasts in season 2. So I'm doing that. But for the next couple of weeks, we are going to have some incredible guests that I think you're going to be super excited about. Just kind of watch your inboxes, if you will, for all the information, those of you especially who have subscribed, about the upcoming episodes, which will be epic in my opinion. And if you haven't joined our Facebook group at the Deep Dive Podcast and our YouTube channel, the Deep Dive Podcast with Sam Orum, please do so as well. All of this can keep us connected. I'm open for ideas. I'm open for people who may be, interested in being a guest. You have something of value that you would like to offer to the world. Just shoot us an email. All of the different platforms, you can connect with us there, as I mentioned, and also you can contact us at info@thedeepdivepodcast.live. All right. So now that we've gotten all of those things out of the way, I kind of sound like the Buzz with all of these commercials. And the Buzz is another podcast for those of you who may not know. But I really wanted to get into a topic tonight that I'm going to slow down a bit because I think it's very important for us to get this concept. And the topic is the power of now. The power of now, N-O-W. I mentioned that so many things are going on right now. So many things have been going on since the pandemic. You have political unrest around the world. You have, war situations around the world. You have so many things, economic unrest around the globe, that tomorrow is no longer promised. And I have always been one of those people that I have a plan. I always have a plan. If you know me, you know I'm a strategist. I have my 90-day plan, which is very important to me. I actually have a day-to-day plan, my to-do list. But then I expand that to 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year goals. And I've always done that all my adult life. But what I'm starting to realize, especially as I get older, but more importantly, as I notice so many things that are happening around the world, tomorrow's not promised, guys. Tomorrow's not promised. So I'm starting to take that second look at, not only myself, my goals, what it is that I aspire to do, but I want to encourage other people to do the same thing, which is why I wanted to talk about the power of now. When you're thinking about all the things that we've planned or we may have written down, we have to remember, guys, there are no guarantees. Tomorrow is not promised. And I don't want this to be, a somber type of podcast, but I do want you to understand, and I hope this registers and resonates with every single listener, that tomorrow is not promised. There are no guarantees. God forbid something happened in terms of a accident, car accident. We see it every day. We talk about it all the time. Or, someone's health, whatever it may be. There are no guarantees. So we have to start living and planning and adjusting with that in mind. We can't put off for tomorrow what we can actually do today. And a lot of us have been doing that. And we want to get a little bit further, in life beyond putting things off. I talk to people a lot, and I ask them about their goals. I ask them about their accomplishments. Some of you know that I do executive coaching with select people, and one of the things I always ask: what is it that you're looking to do? How are you going to build your future? And one thing I inevitably get, people always say, I'm doing this in preparation for that, right? Or I am, waiting to get my finances in a row. I'm waiting to get my ducks in a row. I'm waiting for this to happen, waiting for that to happen. Well, under the notion that nothing is guaranteed and tomorrow is not promised, then we have to take a serious look at how we start to attack our goals moving forward. We want to be in a situation where we don't necessarily want to look backwards. We want to look forward, but with a side eye, if you will. But we have to maintain and stay in the moment now. When you see these things happening around you every single day, you got the situation in Ukraine. You understand what's going on there. Can you imagine how many people's lives were just affected just instantaneously? I mean, think about that. One day they're in a certain situation with their lives, and the next day everything is in upheaval, right? So we just don't know. So we have to be able to understand the power of living in now, living in the now, being in the now. They say that days are long, but years are short. Well, I'm starting to see that. Sometimes a day can seem very long, especially if you're working a 9 to 5 and, you're ready to get out of there. The day seems long. But these years go by very, very quickly. I mean, think about this. Regardless of what age you are, right? Can you just think back to when you graduated high school and however many years ago that was? And I say high school, that's here in North America, but whatever your under education is before you go to university, think about when that was. Whether it may have been 5 years for some people, 10 years, 15, 20, 30, 40, whatever it is. And I challenge you to think and understand that even though it may have been a long time ago, it may seem like it was just yesterday that you graduated from high school. I mean, I think about myself. I graduated from Sidney Lanier High School in Montgomery, Alabama, and it seemed like yesterday that I was walking across that stage, getting my diploma and bright-eyed and excited about the next challenging phase in my life. But it's not, it's been a long time. It's been many years, but I can still visualize it, and it seems like it was yesterday. Look, these years go by quickly, guys. And the point is, we have to kind of make that mental shift into getting stuff done right now. One thing that I'll tell you, A lot of people, they procrastinate, if you will, because in a lot of instances there's some fear there. There's some fear of the unknown. There's some fear of failure. A lot of people are just afraid to fail. Here's something that's interesting. A lot of people are afraid of success. They're fearful of success. So think about where you are. If you're afraid of failure and you're afraid of success, well, where does that leave you? You're just wallowing in that gray area called nothingness, right? So we have to make a decision. We have to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, you know what? It's time to really make some things happen. People say all the time, I'm waiting to get my ducks in a row. Let me tell you something. Ducks, they never get in a row. It's like trying to push a rope in a straight line. It's just not going to happen. You have to create your future. I think I did a podcast before or a speech somewhere and talking about creating your future. You have to create your future. You have to become that master of your fate. You have to become that captain of your soul. You have to be the architect of your future. That's what it means in terms of living in the now. Don't put off your dream until tomorrow. Don't put these things off till tomorrow. Get it done today. Start it today. If you have a dream, whatever it may be, a goal, a bucket list, whatever it may be, it's important to take those steps right now. Start taking the steps to achieve those things, that bucket list, because of all the things that are going on. And like I said, tomorrow's not promised. You can put your dreams on a piece of paper, your bucket list, write it down, put it in your phone, whatever you need to do. But start that process. Make a reservation. Do whatever it is you want to do. I saw, I don't know if it was a movie or television show recently, and I was enamored by the atmosphere of that particular show. They were in I think this guy just opened a jazz restaurant or some things, a jazz nightclub or something like that. And he was just excited, and it was just a very calm and relaxed environment. Now, me, and I'm a musician by trade. That's my first love. I'm a trumpet player. I'm a musician. I'm an artist at heart. So I was appealed by the whole jazz environment, just sitting there listening to jazz, whether it's instrumental jazz, whether it's vocal jazz. But I saw that, and it really put me in dream mode. Just watching this show, it put me in dream mode because I'm like, man, you got your little jazz playing, you got your drink of choice there, you got your significant other there. And before I knew it, I had become consumed in that particular environment because that's one of the things that I want to do. I was thinking about actually opening a jazz club somewhere in the world, right? But then also I'm excited about just, that environment. And so I immediately, once I snapped back to reality that I was actually watching a show, I immediately started making plans to either, I don't know if I want to open a club, jazz club, I'll think about it. But at the very least, I'm going to start putting myself in that environment, even as I travel. Just go to a nice, comfortable, relaxed jazz club, listen to some soothing jazz music. Now, this may not appeal to everybody. This is just my thing. But the point is this, whatever it is that you are excited about, whatever it is that, brings you to that space, that's what you want to do right away. Not tomorrow, not next month, not next year, but right away. Make plans to do those things right away. It's very important. You have to enjoy the present. It's common for a lot of people to dwell on what happened in the past. It's also common for people to always look forward to the future. But the one segment of your life that most people ignore, and that is the now. They ignore the now. And I'm guilty of this as well, because as I've mentioned to you on numerous occasions, even in previous episodes, that, I'm a planner, I'm a strategist. So planning out every aspect of my life moving forward is very important, to me. But now I'm understanding the magnitude, and as I said in this title, the power of now. Let me just say something about this war that's going on in Ukraine and the entire environment. And I'm not trying to be dark, but I'm trying to make a point. In my opinion, we're closer to World War III than we have ever been in my lifetime. ever been in my lifetime. I know there were some things that went on during the Cuban Missile Crisis and all of these other things, but just one or two or three little things happening in the wrong way can create World War III, and everything that we thought was our future may be up in smoke. Now, again, I'm not trying to be dark. Please don't take it in that manner, but I'm trying to accentuate a point of why it's so important for us to do the things that we need to do now. I talked about and I joked about this in a past episode about, we want to be able to eat the big piece of chicken. If you're from the South, if you're from the country like I am, you know what I mean when I say eat the big piece of chicken. You got guests coming over to the house, and mama always say, hey, look, you eat this, you eat this, you eat this. And we're going to say this big piece of chicken for the guests. We're going to say these good towels, these new towels for the house guests, we're going to keep the plastic on the sofa. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all, I'm not the only one. My family wasn't the only one to keep the plastic on the new sofa. Well, look, it's time to take the plastic off the sofa. Use your good towels, use your good dishes, and eat the big piece of chicken. It's time for you to do that. In other words, it's time for you to live for the now. You have to do that. You can't take it with you. And again, as I keep saying, tomorrow is not promised. You just have to enjoy where you are right now. Another aspect of that is your health. Your health won't wait until later. This is something, and I want everybody to really think about this for a second. Especially men, we tend to not, go to the doctor or get checkups frequently or do the things that we need to do for our health because we want to man up and stick it out. Well, your health is not going to wait till later. It doesn't matter how strong you think you are or what you think you may be. Your health won't wait. And when you start to have those physical signs, whatever they may be, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to get better without some type of attention, especially if it's something serious. It's not going to get better without some type of attention. So make sure, you don't put that off till later. Do it now. Get your physical health checked right now. If you put off that visit to the doctor's office or that screening appointment, your mammogram or whatever it is, guys, you may regret it massively later. It can destroy you financially. If you have to go to any type of long-term care or things of that nature. And again, I don't want this to be all somber, but I have to make my point because this is serious, right? So don't put off your health till later. Do it now. If you need to go to the dentist, do it now. My mom used to always say, you better try to keep you better try to keep those teeth. It's better to keep them than to have to get those other teeth, right? So you will go now, take care of it now. It's very important for you to do that. Now, most people who are successful, they have a mindset anyway of seizing the moment. Now, this is something very interesting to me. It's a little bit of a shift in mindset, but most people, you guys know I have a book. It's called The Mindset of a Champion, and I studied a lot of, champions and winners, how they think, what makes them tick, so to speak. And one thing that's a lot of champions, a lot of people who have done great things, they are successful people because they seize the moment. They don't try to wait until the ducks are in a row or wait till you got the right amount of money or, your entire life will be gone while you're waiting on somebody to invest in your future. You got to take control of your future right now. And successful people always seize the moment. I'm not a big fan of Mark Zuckerberg, who is the founder of Facebook. I'm not a big fan of his personally, but the one thing I do like about his mindset in creating Facebook from the beginning is he said something to the effect of he never tried to wait until everything was right. He just started it and corrected it along the way. Now think about that, what it takes to just start something, knowing that everything is not going to be fluid, but you start it and you correct along the way. Now look at the results when you're talking about Facebook which also owns Instagram, which also owns WhatsApp and all these other things. It is a mindset, guys, and successful people seize the moment. That's what you want to, that's where you want to be. And I think I'm getting this more and more. I don't know, again, if it's because I'm getting older or because I'm recognizing all the things that are going on around the world, but it's ultra important that we continue to just seize the moment and do the things that we want to do or need to do right now. If you do it now, and I want you to think about this, if you do it now, then that will give you an opportunity to discover your passion. That will give you an opportunity to discover your passion. So many people are going through life and not even knowing why they're going through life. They're just on that 40-40 plan. What's the 40-40 plan? You work 40 hours a week for 40 years. You retire on half of what wasn't enough in the first place. That's on that 40-40 plan to nowhere. Not even understanding your purpose. Not even having a passion for anything. You know why? Because you've never taken the initiative to start life. You've never taken that initiative to start life. I'm challenging each and every one of you within the sound of my voice, regardless of where you are on the planet, regardless of what language you may be listening to this podcast. I challenge each and every one of you to do it now. Start living life now. Start whatever it is now. And you know what? It doesn't even matter, how far you are in terms of your age. That doesn't matter. Because if you're going to live, you may as well make it a quality of life, regardless of where you are. If you're 9 years old or 90 years old, it doesn't matter. You still have to start to live the rest of your life in a quality capacity. A good friend of mine, Pastor Jeff Landrum, he has a ministry in Montgomery, Alabama called Changing Faces Ministry. But one thing I heard him say in one of his past sermons, it's been many years ago, but I've always remembered this, and every now and then I kind of rely on this particular ideology because it's so important. I always talked about in the past how, I didn't tell people my age. I didn't, it's like if I think I'm young, I'm young. If I think I can do this, I can do this. And that, that has been my mindset. But, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but what is young and what is old? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm saying this to myself. What do you mean? What is young? What is old? Well, if you were born today and you were only going to live 9 years, that was your lifespan, 9 years. Are you young or are you old? You only got 9 years left on earth. Are you young or are you old? Well, if you only got 9 more years, you're old, even though you were just born. Contrary to that, he talked about, what if you're 50 years old right now, 60 years old right now, and you got another 40 or 50 years to live, 30, 40, 50 years to live. Are you young or are you old? If you got another 50 years, you're still young, right? So it's relative in terms of whether you're young or whether you're old. And here's why it's relative. Because you don't know when that end date is. It could be tomorrow, or it could be in 50 years. So that's why it's even more important for us to now eat the big piece of chicken. I might get a t-shirt, just say, eat the big piece of chicken. And every time somebody asks me, what's that about? Eat the big piece of chicken. I'm like, look, live life for the now. Live life for the now. You got to do it. But if you don't know when that end date is, then that makes every single day that you live that much more important. I'm going to ask Pastor Landrum. He has a podcast as well, same title, Changing Faces Ministry Podcast. But I'm going to ask him if he can recall, first of all, that sermon. It's been so many years ago. But if he can also just share that with us again, because I think that's a powerful message for people, and it really runs in parallel to what we're talking about today, living through the power of now. So I think that's going to be something that's powerful. And, at the end of the day, you don't want to live with any regrets. So, putting things off and living for tomorrow and doing all those things, sometimes you start to live in regrets, because I know people who said, I wish I had done this, or now I'm too old to do this, or I wish I had done that, or I really wanted to do this. Look, guys, you don't want to live in regret. You want to be in a situation where you can challenge yourself to be great every day, but also have a quality of life every day. So where you're not, living in regret whatsoever. Tell people that you love, tell them that you love them, right? I mean, I'll tell you why that's so important in a second, but tell people if you love them, tell them you love them. Because again, tomorrow is not promised. I remember my stepfather, he passed a few years ago, and when he passed, I was in Africa, right? And I got the call, that he was very sick and ultimately passed. And I'll tell you exactly when this was. I know President Obama was president because this is when they also had I don't know if it was a hurricane or some type of treacherous weather in the New York and New Jersey area, and everything was shut down. Obama and Chris Christie and all these people, they were, just trying to get people in survival mode. And I remember that because I was trying to get a flight back from Africa, and the only flight that I could get back in time had to go through New York. That's the only flight I could get back in time. And unfortunately, you couldn't fly into New York at the time because of that hurricane or tornado, whatever it was. And so I was just distraught. I'm sitting there in Mombasa, Kenya, and I'm just distraught because I couldn't get back. I didn't make it to the funeral services. I'm just distraught. And then I had one of those conversations, as I often do, with God, and it was brought to my attention that, you know what, there are absolutely no regrets. You know why? Because D, that's what I call my stepfather, D, he knew how much you loved him. You know why? Because you told him, you showed him, you shared with him. He knew how much you loved him. So even though he went to glory and you weren't there for the funeral, you couldn't make it, don't have any regrets because he knew. He absolutely knew. I told him, I showed him, I cared for him, all of those things, right? Why am I saying that? Again, because if you love somebody, tell them you love them. Whether it's a relative, whether it's a friend, I tell the people I love them. I may text it, whatever it is, they know I love them because I'll tell them. Girls and guys, it doesn't matter. Guys, it's like, well, I ain't gonna tell another guy I love him. Well, what if I didn't tell D, my stepfather, that I loved him just because I'm trying to be all macho? That's stupid. That's crazy. That shows more about you than it does about anything else. That shows your insecurities. But yeah, if you love somebody, let them know that you love them. Don't worry about what folks think about you. How I am. I could care less of what people think. And here's why. We live in, especially in America, we live in what I call the 5149 society. And what's a 5149 society? That means it doesn't matter what you do, who you are, um, the political views that you have, your ideologies, your religion, your this, your that, no matter what you do, there's about half the people that will not like or not agree with what it is that you do. About half the people. Now think about that. 5149 society. When you talking about our presidential election, somewhere around 5149, that means almost half the people like this candidate and half the people like that candidate. We're in that 5149 society. Knowing that, guys, don't worry about what people think, because no matter what you do, half the people are not going to like it. I don't care how great it is. Half the people are not going to like it. All right. So just keep that in mind as you're living in the now. And I'll kind of start closing out with just one last notion that I think everybody need to understand. You kind of have to come out of your comfort zone in order to really live in the now. So many people are in their comfort zone. Let me give you some adjectives of people or some descriptions of people who are living in their comfort zone. These are people who, always say, what if I can't? What if I can't do something? Or, they have a sense of fear, or what if people are always saying, well, I'm tired, I'm tired. They're always depressed about something. I don't mean a physical depression, because that is a thing, but I mean just a created depression because they're not doing anything. That's a part of being in that comfort zone bubble. Always saying it's too hard, it's too difficult, doubting yourself. These are things that keep people who are in the comfort zone in that comfort zone. But what you want to be able to do is come out of that comfort zone, expand your mindset, start thinking about things with a sense of excitement. Fearlessness. I don't mean carelessness, I mean fearlessness. Think successful. I've told you this numerous times on these podcasts, but it is physically impossible for the mind to occupy more than one thought at a time. It is physically impossible to think about more than one thing at a time. So if you know that, and absent of being physically ill in some capacity, if you want to be depressed or down or all of this other kind of stuff, if you are, it's because you want to be. Because all you have to do is change your thoughts. You can't think about something bad and something good at the same time. And if you feel bad, think about something good. Change your thoughts. Change your physiology, right? People who live outside of their comfort zone and understand that, they're always saying, well, what if I can? Wonder what would happen if I did this? They have a wealth mindset. They have confidence. They're looking for financial freedom. I have a company. We talk about it all the time. I'm not a self-promoter, but I talk about what I do. And I have a company. And so many times we offer people an opportunity to empower themselves, not just through empowerment tools that we talk about from a coaching standpoint, but also financial empowerment. You'll be amazed how many people live in poverty and skepticism and won't do anything because they think somebody trying to take something from you that you actually don't have. Think about that for a second. As my grandmama used to say, and I always quote my family and my mentors and all of this, but my grandmama would say, y'all excuse my language, because people have been getting on my case about my language, so I'm trying to clean it up. But I'm not going to clean it up right now. My grandmama used to say, boy, you ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. What are you talking about? That's what she used to say, right? What that means is you got nothing to lose. Go for it. Back in the day in the country, we didn't have, when I grew up, until I was 13, we didn't have indoor plumbing. So we had to do what we had to do in a different type of situation. She would say, you don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Go for it. It's the same way when you're talking about financial freedom. We talk to people every single week. We have one voice presentations every single week, and all these people get on, and then they're always like, oh, it's not for me. That's your option. I'm not poo-pooing that. That's absolutely your option. But one thing I will share you, and this is share with you, and I'm going to give you this for free. This advice is for free. I charge people for this little blurb that I'm about to give you, but I'm giving it to you for free. Those people who just don't want to do something because they think somebody's going to take something you don't have. Here you go. Here's this piece of advice for free. You can't fall off the bottom. You can't fall off the bottom. So what the power of now means, that means you got to now take control of your life. The sky is the limit. Have a passion for what it is that you're doing. Be okay with failing. It's okay to fail, because if you don't fail, you don't know what you need to do and correct to continue to be better. There's a book called the Book of Jabez, and it talks about all the things that are stored up for us or for people, but they just never take that initiative to go out and grab it. Look, guys, you can't fall off the bottom. It's time to get great. It's time to be great. It's time to do great things. It's time to live for the now, for today. I challenge you. And if you don't know what it is that you want to do, if you don't even know what your passion is, if you don't even know where to start, let me give you a question that you can ask yourself. And this question will show you exactly where you need to start. Ask yourself this question. If money was no longer an issue in my life, if I had all the money, and I'll ask this to you, if you had all the money you could ever spend, money was no longer an issue in your life, so money is out of the equation, right? What would you be doing? What is it that you would be doing if money was not an issue in your life? If you can identify what that is, typically that's your passion. Typically that's your passion, whether it is to, build a homeless shelter for people, or build a breast cancer center for women, or whatever it may be. But if you take money as an issue out of the equation, and then you start to think of the things that you would do with your life, that's typically what your passion is. I want to challenge all of you to start living for the now, right now. I want to challenge you to ask yourself that question: if money was no longer an issue. And I ask people to ask themselves that question simply because most people cloud their judgment based on their financial resources. In a lot of cases, I get it, I understand it, but at the end of the day, you still have to live. So what are you going to do, right? So just from a mindset standpoint, take money as an issue off the table. What would you do? That's going to give you a clue as to what your passion is. You start to expand upon that. You start to build upon that. You start to create that environment right now. And then the doors of success, the doors of a quality of life will open for you henceforth, now, and forevermore. So hopefully this particular episode gave you some good tips in terms of why it is important to live for the now, understanding the power of living for the now. Let me know if it did, if it, some things that struck a chord with you, and you'll take me up on the challenge of being able to do some things and live for the now, and understanding that, you don't know if you're young or old, because you don't know when that day is. So it's really time to just do some things for yourself and do those things now. Again, thank you all for joining me on my podcast. I ask you again, if you please go to my website, thedeepdivepodcast.live. Like the podcast or any of the podcast platforms. You can like it, subscribe, download, share these podcasts with people. Get on your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, all of these information superhighway platforms, and just share these messages, especially the solo podcast, because all of the solo podcasts are designed specifically to empower you in some way, shape, or form. Okay. And if you're not a part of the Facebook page, the Deep Dive Podcast with Sam Orum Facebook page, go there. But I'm gonna be doing, I know I keep saying that, but I'm gonna be doing some special things with our friends on the Facebook page that's different and separate from what we're doing here on the episodic channel. So looking forward to that. Get ready for it. I'm excited. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in all over the world. Next week, we're going to have an exciting guest. I'm not going to tell you who it is right now. As a matter of fact, the next 2 weeks, but they're already scheduled. I'm looking forward to it. You guys are going to have a great time. So continue to live for the now, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world. God bless.